I've actually never gone on here and asked my audience to do anything. I've never done like a go do this, you should go do this sort of thing. We need to do this, okay? We need a moral victory this weekend. We need something that we can collectively say we did something. I know we're doing the nationwide blackout. Here's something that we can do on top of that, okay? You know how Melania's documentary is premiering this weekend, and it is tanking. It is like theaters are not even selling a single ticket right now. God, I love that for us. You need, and we need, to go to Netflix, and we need to stream Michelle Obama's documentary, Becoming. Just put it on in the background. Find one screen, one single screen in your house, and just play it, and just play it on a loop. Let's make Becoming #1 this weekend.
I don't follow this creator. I've never seen him before, even though he has a large account. I got tagged in the comments of his video asking me to participate in this viewing of Michelle Obama's Netflix documentary. I'd love to know what you think about this. What's your take on this? I know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, and it's not going to be streaming Netflix because one, I don't have any Netflix, but two, I'm going to be in the streets tomorrow. Nurses unions all around the country here in Oregon, it's ONA, Oregon Nurses Association, are calling for rallies, marches, protests everywhere tomorrow. And unions, from school teachers unions to SEIU, all kinds of unions are joining in solidarity and marching with our nurses, both to speak out against the murder of nurse Alex Preddy, but also against the tyranny of the Trump regime in general. Take your pick, arresting journalists Georgia Fort and Don Lemon today, using Palantir to illegally surveil American citizens even when we're inside our homes to scan our devices, giving billions and billions of our taxpayer money to corporations like CoreCivic and Geo Group so that they can run concentration camps around the country. So many reasons for us to be in the streets protesting tomorrow, and I'm just not sure how I feel about this kind of activism of watch a movie and have it outrank Melania's movie. I understand the ways that like hitting Donald Trump and his fragile ego can be really impactful. But I find it a little bit odd to be like, I'm a creator and I've never asked my audience to do anything tomorrow, but like, this is the thing I think you should be doing. I personally, I'm not really sure that that is the thing that we should be doing that pushes back against the regime in a meaningful and impactful way. And we have to be really smart about how we use our resources, our money, our bodies, our energy, our time. This is why the most effective resistance is strategic, engaged in by mass numbers of people in a sustained way for as long as it takes in order to stop a fascist regime. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that this is the thing. I would recommend finding your grassroots group and what they're doing today and tomorrow to protest and joining them. And speaking of mass civil resistance, right now on the streets of Minneapolis, people are marching. Tens of thousands of people are marching. There are calls to repeat massive marches and a general strike every Friday, and to think about expanding outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul, for more days of the week, expand to other states around the country. And I think some of the protests tomorrow are starting to move in that direction. And folks all around the country are standing in solidarity with Minneapolis today by not purchasing anything, by depriving the economy of our dollars in every way that we can, while our friends in Minneapolis are out on the streets marching against the lawless violence of ICE, against the arrest of Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, as well as longtime highly respected activists Traherne Cruz and Jamail Lundy. This is Minnesota right now. On a weekday, in the middle of the workday, this is what Minnesota looks like. When a would-be authoritarian engages in dramatic escalation, the number one way that people have to effectively fight back is mass, rapidly mobilized public opposition, mass numbers of people in the streets. And Minnesotans understand that. Minnesotans are doing the right thing. This is what effective civil resistance looks like, and it has to be massive and sustained. And it can't just be Minneapolis. We have to stand in solidarity with our friends in Minnesota right now, today, every day, until we topple this regime. As Kelly Hayes and Miriam Kaba say in their book, Let This Radicalize You, we don't abandon us. We must stand with our friends. We must resist with our friends all around the country. which, by the way, folks in New York City are doing right now. Folks all around the country are doing right now in this moment as well. The other day on Indivisible's What's the Plan call, Dr. Erica Chenoweth, who is an expert on nonviolent civil resistance, was the guest and was answering questions. And I just want to say here, I have read a lot of Chenoweth's research. I have listened to them speak many, many times. They are not somebody who is going to give you a big, massive dose of hopium. They're somebody who's going to speak accurately and pragmatically about the risks, the urgency of the moment, and what it is that is required of us to stop this madness. So when they were asked what's going well in Minnesota, they said, well, I'm seeing mass and diverse participation, and that participation is growing rapidly. Teachers, nurses, veterans, ordinary folks who have never stepped out in protest or have resisted the government in any way before are doing it now. They are activated. And that it's important that we're seeing a huge range of methods. It's not just people marching in the streets. There are all kinds of degrees and methods and avenues of resistance that people can engage in, but they need to be disruptive of the system in order to actually have an effect. They said another thing that we're seeing is that repression backfires. It backfires because the people make it backfire, right? That is all about us choosing, the folks in Minnesota, choosing not to submit to the repression, choosing not to go along with it, but to resist it vigorously. The folks in Minnesota are realizing, oh, hey, the Trump regime, they can't make us obey. Nobody can actually make you obey. You have to choose to do so. They can brutalize you, they can threaten you, they can murder you in the street, but they can't force you to obey. The regime desperately wants people to stop recording the illegal actions of ICE. More and more, everybody in Minnesota is out there with their phone. Everybody is out there filming what is happening. They want you to cower in your home. People are bravely, courageously marching in the streets. They're arresting independent journalists, trying to make journalists be quiet. Independent journalists are like, fuck no, we're going to cover everything. We're going to cover everything the regime is doing and all of the ways that people are resisting. That is our job in this moment. And I would add something else. The courage of Minnesotans is contagious. People all around the country are watching what they are doing, the January 23rd general strike, and they're saying, oh, we should get in on that. We should do that. The level of intense, connected mutual aid and community care that Minnesotans are engaged in, the courage and self-discipline that Minnesotans are exhibiting in their non-violent direct action. And that courage is contagious, particularly when you add the power of the labor movement. When you look at the research of Jonathan Pinckney, who's one of Dr. Erica Chenoweth's colleagues, in countries where there is democratic backsliding, like in the United States right now, if there's no civil resistance movement, odds of stopping the democratic backsliding are real small, about 7.5%. When you add in a mass sustained civil resistance movement of the people, the odds increase to about 52%. The minute you get the labor unions on board and involved, the likelihood of us being successful in stopping an authoritarian regime jumps to almost 72%. And in Minnesota and around the country, guess what, y'all? The unions, they're getting on board. They are on board. There are protests all over the country tomorrow hosted by various unions, and I really encourage you to go find out which one is happening in your area. Even if you're not a union member, they will welcome you. To me, that feels like the best way for us to be spending our weekend.